Bitter criticism, reading something from Russia Today, yeah. Russia Today, the only agency of geopolitics. From Russia, the only agent of politics. Well, I have no signal, but says Russia charges ex-senior Kiev officials with Donbass crimes. Is the same subject as the previous news from Gaza. Donbass and Gaza is the same problem, but Donbass is being solved from Russia. It says Russia charges ex-senior Kiev officials with Donbass crimes. Two former presidential ADs have been accused of complicity in attacks that kill and injure more than 120 civilians. We have a file photo of a burning destruction site. Russian authorities have charged in absentia two former chiefs of the Ukrainian presidential administration, Igor Rainin and Andrei Bogdan, with crimes against humanity over attacks in Donbass. The accusations stem from their alleged roles in artillery attacks that caused numerous civilian deaths and widespread destruction. The Russian Investigative Committee announced the charges on Wednesday, citing evidence that Rainin and Bogdan, who held their posts from 2016 to 2019 and from 2019 to February 2020, respectively, orchestrated attacks targeting civilian areas in Donetsk and Lugansk People's Republics, now parts of Russia. Quote, as a result of their joint criminal actions, militants under their control carried out numerous artillery attacks on Donbass settlements, leading to the injury and death of 123 people, including 11 children, as well as the destruction of more than 390 civilian infrastructure facilities. End quote. The committee said, adding that Moscow was taking steps to hold the suspects accountable. Read more. Related news. Russian court convicts Belgian mercenary. Rainin served as a chief of staff under President Pyotr Poroshenko, while Bogdan held the post briefly under Vladimir Zelensky. Both officials were also members of Ukraine's National Security and Defense Council, NSDC, during their tenures. Ukraine has routinely launched indiscriminate attacks on towns in Donbass and elsewhere since the region revolted against a Western-backed coup in Kiev in 2014. Russia launched its special military operation in February 2022, with one of the stated aims being to protect civilians in Donbass. However, the attacks only intensified. Officials in Moscow have warned that those in Ukraine involved in indiscriminate attacks on the civilian population will inevitably face justice. According to the investigative committee, 6,025 cases have been opened against Ukrainian officials, nationalists, and military personnel for crimes against humanity since 2014. Courts have handed down lengthy sentences, including life imprisonment for 60 individuals. And that's it. I'm going to read the related news. From yesterday, December 26, home, Russia and former Soviet Union. Russian court convicts Belgian mercenary. 25-year-old Jedmir Hussein has been sentenced in absentia to 6 years in prison for fighting in Donbass on behalf of Ukraine. A Russian court has sentenced in absentia Belgian national Jedmir Hussein, who to 6 years in a general population penal colony for participating in the Ukraine conflict on the side of Kiev, Moscow's prosecutor's office reported on Thursday. In a statement on its Telegram channel, it stated that the 25-year-old has been found guilty of acting as a mercenary in an armed conflict. Prosecutors established that Hussein, who does not hold Ukrainian or Russian citizenship, traveled to a training camp in Ukraine's Lviv region in March 2022. That is said to belong to the International Legion of the Territorial Defense of Ukraine. There with the goal of receiving, quote, material compensation, end quote. Investigators claim that Hussein joined the International Legion as a mercenary, underwent military training, and, quote, agreed to participate in hostilities against representatives of the security forces of the Donetsk, DPR, and Lugansk People's Republics, LPR, as well as servicemen of the armed forces of the Russian Federation, end quote. The prosecutor's office said that Hussein's case was heard by the Moscow City Court, which, due to the absence of the defendant, has issued an arrest warrant for him and placed him on the international wanted list. Read more. Russia launched criminal probe into mercenary Jesus. Media. Keep going. Meanwhile, in Russia's Donetsk People's Republic, a court has also sentenced in absentia a 31-year-old U.S. national to 13 years in prison for fighting alongside Kiev's forces. The DPR prosecutor's office identified the man as U.S. Army veteran Alexander Grant Tobiasen. It is claimed that Tobiasen had previously gained combat experience during campaigns in Afghanistan and Syria, and joined the Georgian National Legion in 2016 as a mercenary. In 2021, he is said to have joined the 36th Separate Marine Brigade of the Ukrainian Armed Forces and has repeatedly taken part in combat against DPR and LPR militias and against Russian forces since 2022. The prosecutors noted that Tobiasen has participated in military operations in Ukraine. The DPR, LPR, and Russia had and claimed that throughout his service, he has earned the equivalent of some 12.8 million rubles, which is $128,000. And that's it. Maybe going to read the last one from oh no, it's too old. It's December 18. That's it. Forbidden news for free world.